people look once, and just move your microphone actually towards you. Yeah, that's it. Right in front of you. So it's...
Here.
Oh, looks like it's pointing towards you. Perfect. Perfect. And we can start anytime we want.
Okay.
All right, then we do it.
I'm really sorry. I don't
what?
do detail very well.
Okay.
So I just saw, great, okay, whatever your email... and I didn't see the next bit that said, send me a slide, a quote or whatever.
Nah.
So I'm sorry, I haven't really prepared.
So if I was to say, welcome,
Thank you.
but who is Flavia? Who is Flavia Formica? And I've got it written there, Catalyst of Change.
Yeah, well, that's my business name.
Yeah.
Maybe I am a catalyst of change.
Okay.
Flavia Formica is the daughter of migrant parents who met in Australia. She is the firstborn in Australia of her family. So my grandparents and aunties and mother and father were all born in Italy. So I'm the first one born in Australia. I have a brother and sister who are younger than me, and I speak Italian fluently. I identify very strongly with my Italian heritage, and as a result, I have a very, very strong sense of family. So as a person, I am very empathetic, extrovert. When I was younger, I've off the charts extrovert. These days, matured extrovert, so I do appreciate time alone. I'm a feeler, not a thinker.
Ooh. Have you done, just to jump in there, have you done your Myers-Briggs type indicator?
I'm a Myers-Briggs practitioner.
Even better, because I had
Yeah.
Mary McGuinness on here, who was like a practitioner.
Yeah.
So are you like let me guess, ENFP?
J.
J.
I was on time and I texted you to say I'd be here on time, didn't
You
I?
did.
That's
You did.
That's a J.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Nothing spontaneous happens
No,
in
okay.
my life.
Yeah. To see the amazing thing I see about that is that looking at your personality type, do you believe in it? Like, it's like star signs. If I look at my star sign and it says, "Oh, you're an outgoing person that, as a Leo, you're an outgoing person who loves to have people around you," I go, "Well, that could be anyone."
But it isn't anyone.
Oh.
I mean, there are a lot of people who don't like having people around you.
True.
And for a period of time, I lived with my brother, who is charming and intelligent and engaging and a very strong introvert and an introverted thinker. So when we lived together and COVID came in Melbourne, I was in my end of the apartment in my room having wine catch-ups and chatting to the people in our building and staying as connected as I could to the outside world because I was really, really struggling. He, on the other hand, was like, what, I just don't have to go anywhere and no one comes here and this is finally a world I can live in happily. And he'd just go into his room and shut the door for days. So we're not all like that. And to your question, I truly believe the Myers-Briggs profile indicator, and it's just an indicator of preferences.
Yeah.
Most of the time when I run workshops and people do their questionnaire and we start to unpack it, they will read that paragraph and say, "Oh my God, that's me."
That's you.
Now, we have what they call OOPSs, which is out of preference traits. And so there will be some people who are, they have traits of the other dichotomy. So you can have an extrovert who does need alone time, or you can have a planner who can be spontaneous in some ways, or, there are elements of that. But generally, remember, it's just a preference.
Yes.
So I never let people, you don't get off the hook and say, "Oh, well, that I don't do detail. So therefore I'll just not ever care about the detail." I mean, you have to control yourself and you have to worry about the detail because that's life, But it's just, where are you most comfortable and what's your preference?
Well, I get all my information, not from Myers-Briggs or my star sign. I get all my stuff from let's say I get mine from Urban Dictionary.
Oh, okay.
Right. So, for example, would you consider yourself to be a nice person? Are you a nice person?
Oh, I don't like the word nice.
Well, before we go and question everything about nice, let me have a look at this. Have a look at the screen there. Flavia. So this is where I get my information from. An extremely cute girl. She is the most funniest and cutest person possible. If you don't have a Flavia in your life, then your life is boring. So get a Flavia faster. So that's you. No, hang on, there's more there. Flavia is the most amazing friend that you can ever meet. She's so talented and she can dance like no one else. Flavia will listen to your rants about anything at all. If you meet a Flavia, never let her slip because she's the best friend that you will ever have. Does that describe you pretty much like you?
I think the dancing would be question. I love to dance. I don't know that I'm any good at it. I'm definitely loyal.
Ooh.
Yes, I'm definitely loyal. So if I am your friend,
You're like a puppy dog.
I will stay your friend and I'll be true to you. Okay. But
here it comes.
The Italian culture runs deep.
Oh, yeah.
So you wrong me only once. So you don't get a chance to do it twice.
Let me ask you, how far have you gone back on your Italian heritage and found some people in the closet that you go, wow, didn't know that?
No people in the closet have been able to go. Remember that Italy, the record keeping was not that great. And interestingly, it was a parish priest in the town my father was born in that did a family tree and sent it to me because I still have Italian citizenship. I was able to get a passport because when I was born, my parents had not been naturalised yet.
Okay.
So my brother and I have Italian citizenship. Our sister that was born 10 years after me, by then they were Australian.
Right.
And she didn't get it. So we've gone back to about the 1600s. But I don't know what they did. I just know their names.
Right.
So one of the things I will do when I have more time, when I'm working less, which I don't work a lot now, but anyway, I will investigate a bit more of that. But I am very confident they were all just farmers. They were, they were poor and they lived off the land, what land they had. Yeah.
I'm sorry, there's a fly in here just buzzing around.
It is. There is.
Don't make sure that we don't get it in the same little thing as us. It would be like brumblefly.
No, it's okay.
It'd be something like that.
That's
I don't know. I must clean out those bodies from under the house.
Oh, God.
move those out of the way. Hey, we were just having a discussion. This is the great part about doing something like this. Is most of the discussion happens in the kitchen, having a coffee, and we were talking about. Now it was Chris Hemsworth, and he's got a Netflix series called, what was it?
Limitless.
So I needed to say that out loud. So when I watch this back, I'll go back into.
Yeah.
But this is we were talking about minimalism, essentialism. How do we live smaller? But I was fascinated about what you were saying about them weighing him down with belts and heavy shoes and like ear muffs or something
and glasses.
But talk to me about that. What was the purpose of doing all that?
Well, obviously, as a specimen of being a human, he is, God did a good job there, right? I mean, he's gorgeous and he looks after himself. And I mean, the man was Thor.
Yes.
So they had to for him to truly understand, or not even truly, but to get some idea of what it's going to be like to be older, to slow down, and for your body to not do everything you want it to do as you decide it's going to do it. They put him in this suit to limit his movement, and the shoes were sort of spongy shoes that made him a bit wobbly, because your hearing can deteriorate, your eyesight does deteriorate. So to put him in that physical space to then help him get there mentally, to understand how limited your life becomes. So once he got the physical feelings and he kind of got comfortable with that, then they moved him into a room in a retirement village to give him an understanding of, how small your life becomes. And what was really interesting is that, as I said to you, the staff are all actors. And one of the young men who was playing the part of a carer said, now this is your room. Now your wife brought in some photos And so they have aged him in photos.
Oh, gosh.
And so there's, and then there's, a card to granddad. And like, I'm getting goosebumps now. It's so well done. And then he says, we've got a copy of your book, and it's a photo of him now, and the book is Forever.
Right.
Like, he hasn't written that book, but
That's a good name.
I don't think he's written that book because he kind of laughs about it.
Mm.
And then the guy says to him, because you did some acting, didn't you, when you were young? And he says, yeah, I did do some acting. Was it community theatre or were you on television? Oh, he said, I did a bit of everything. And it's a reminder that all these big things we think we're doing now, all this really important stuff we're doing in our careers, and one day we're going to be in a room with someone who doesn't know, and they're being polite. They don't know who we are. They don't know what we did.
They don't care.
They don't really care.
No.
They're doing their job.
Yep.
And then not long after that, because again, I don't want to ruin it for you, but they take him to the end of life.
Right.
And you realise that that's it. That's where we're all heading. We don't know when, we don't know how. So really today, this is the only thing we can be sure about.
Because we were talking about that podcast that was that podcast from Modern Wisdom, Chris Williamson, I think it was.
Yes.
And he was talking about in 3 generations, no one is going to know who you are, what you did, or even care about you. So all the material stuff that you have here will be absolutely gone. So it's just, it'll be gone.
Yeah.
And I guess the end of that story that you were telling here is that we should live now, shouldn't we? We should just live now. But so why don't we? Why do we go through this like we have to stop and think about what we're going to be doing in our life? Why do we do all that?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. And I spend a lot of time. I mean, I have... the life I'm living now is not the life I thought I would be living if you had asked me when I was 18, 28, 38, 48, by 58, I was living the life I'm living now.
Right.
So I don't know why. I don't know why we feel that happiness is going to come from more stuff, a better title, more money, relationships, having children, not having children, I don't know. I mean, certainly if you go to Bhutan or you talk to a Buddhist, they will tell you happiness does not come from any of that. But somehow in our society, we almost have to unlearn all the things that we've learnt over the past however many generations. I mean, my family, my ancestors in Italy would have been very poor. They would have lived off whatever was growing in the garden, an egg from the chicken. I mean, my mother tells stories about my grandmother cooking an egg, one egg in a little pan for my 8-year-old mother to take out to the field to her father with some bread and olive oil and, maybe a bunch of grapes, like whatever, just nothing, wrapped in a tea towel, right? And she was hungry. There was only one egg. She didn't get to eat it. It was for her father because he was working. And she says he would say to her, "Have you eaten?" And she'd say yes, because her mother would say, "Tell your dad you've eaten." And he would say, "I'm not that hungry. You eat the yolk. You eat the yolk with this bit of bread because I'm not very hungry." So can you imagine a grown man who's working the field? His lunch was an egg white and some bread just so he could give his daughter something to eat. Like, that's poor. So,
why does this fill you up with emotion?
Because I'm so proud of what I've come from. They didn't get an education. But they loved their children, and then they left their country of birth to come here and start again. I'm the product of those 2 people who chose to leave everyone and everything behind, start here with their 3 young daughters, and then my mother met my father. And
I'm fascinated nowadays how much we have to try to achieve to get happiness and how much we have to grift and push forward and be the best at what we have to be. And like you and I were saying, in 100 years' time, no one's going to remember us. But how hard we have to push, and then we look at our ancestors and the products of what they've developed and what they've given us for us to be here today. And like we were saying, look at all the stuff that I have around here, you know, 6 cameras up the top here, lights and the whole thing. Do we really need all that? And yet we're talking about a simple egg that one has the yolk, one has the white. And here we are, we can just jump down to the coffee shop and get ourselves a coffee just like that. Are we becoming too materialistic now to prove our happiness, to show other people that, hey, look what I've got? Because I told you, you know, and this is going to stop all this soon. I'm going to be in a bus and it's going to be traveling away, and you know, and I want to talk to you about, you know, what my father said to me, how important it is that you live the life today and not wait. Like, he's 92. So I've got a question for you. Does achieving your goals then bring you happiness?
I think it brings you a sense of achievement, and
Yes.
certainly for a lot of people, depending on what the goal is, sometimes the goal is happiness, and so whatever happiness
It's hard
is
to
for you.
define that. Yeah.
What is that for you?
Yeah. What is it?
Well, it depends for every person, but I absolutely am committed to living my life more in the present and less in the future. And I absolutely choose every day. I came to this through my career. I came to being a coach, to understand my parents never talked about mindfulness or mindset or gratitude. Yes, because we were raised with a religion, and I think saying your prayers at night is just gratitude, but it's wrapped up in religion. So, you've got to, but to just end your day with being grateful for whatever has happened in that day is such a powerful thing for your mind and for you moving forward in life. So that's all come to me, and I've learnt about it, and I share that, and that's how I live my life. I'm not putting off until tomorrow anything that I really need or want to be doing today. And I think less really is more. I think when I've gone from living in a big house with 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and that wasn't happiness. I live in a space that's mine, that I own, that I have exactly the way I want it. And
let me ask you, there's two theories of thought, and that is you've got this materialistic world that we're living in. More is better. He or she who dies with the most toys wins. Then you have minimalism, which is I'll try to only have as much as I need in the house, not to clutter the house up. And then there's essentialism, which is I can live with just the essential items. So if it's a family of 2, I just need 2 knives and 2 forks and maybe a 3rd fork because somebody might come and join me. I need 8 T-shirts. I need 3 pairs of shoes. I need 3 pairs of trousers. I need a hat, glasses. That's the essentials that I need. Could you live an essential life?
no.
Oh, wow. But we just talked about the whole materialistic thing. And you were just saying, I don't need all that stuff.
I know. But look, if I had to, so if circumstances were such
Yes.
that I had no other option, of course I could. You could, of course. You would survive. You would get by. You would have to. You would have to. I kind of... And I also can't pretend to be minimalist because I'm not. I had a designer come to my house once and he said, I'm eclectic. My home is a reflection of me and my life.
That's
there are
true.
Bits and pieces of things that I've collected, gifts I've been given, photos of the people I love. But it certainly doesn't look like a display home. It's lived in, and you can put your feet on the sofa and you can lie on the bed if you want to. And,
Yeah.
But I do and have tried for a long time to, if I need to buy something new, then something has to go. And I do try to regularly do a, clean out of things and donate donate, donate, donate.
Yeah. Interesting. So I have heard that when you buy something or bring something new into the house, you get rid of 5 things.
5 things. Okay.
Oh, that was a big surprise. 5 things.
One thing, yeah.
One thing is good enough.
You probably could get rid of 5 things.
Yeah, 5 things. So if I've also heard that purchasing things for the house. So if you have a look at cameras up there, and I've got the books, they become markers in your life. Like they become memory markers. And then when you look at hoarders, as an example, they can't get rid of all the stuff that they have because they're memory locators. It's like, I got that Tupperware item, on my wedding anniversary, which gave me lots of joy. And I want to keep the joy, not so much the Tupperware.
Yeah.
Do you think that's what you're doing? You're saying my house is a reflection of who I am. And if I get rid of those things, I'm getting rid of part of who I am.
In some ways, perhaps, but not really, because I was married up until about 5 years ago, and that was my second marriage. So twice in my life, I've left with half of everything I had. Okay. I've left half of my physical life behind and my financial life, but that's not for now. So I care about having nice things. You commented on my car when I arrived.
Yes.
I mean, I like nice things. The bag is Louis Vuitton.
Yep.
The jewelry is Tiffany. Like, anyone who knows me, there's no point in me sitting here and pretending I'm some sort of... I'm not, I like a brand and I like nice things. But twice in my life, I have walked away from half of everything I had. And I've been okay. Not straight away, but eventually. So the things in my life now are very much the things of who I am now. A lot of things are new. I didn't take much of my last life with me, or what I did take with me I have now replaced, because I don't think there's any point in looking back. I don't deny my life, my history, my past. It all brought me to where I am today, but I certainly don't live in the past because there's no point, and that's not where happiness is. Happiness is today and the future, but I don't live in the future. I'm not worried about where will I be.
No, too much anxiety.
What's the point?
There's too much anxiety. Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah.
So, whether it's been relationships, career, friendships, there were moments in my life in the past where, had you said to me in 2023, here's a window into your life, I would have said, oh, no, I don't think so. So now, and I'm great with where I'm at. So now I don't want you to tell me where I'll be in 20 years. Like, that will come. It's going to come.
Yeah.
But what that's going to look like depends on what I do today.
Yeah. There's something that I like. I spoke to a couple of people who I've had on the podcast before, and it's the 1075. And I'll walk you through that and tell me what you think of this. And I think I heard it somewhere, maybe on a Dr. Phil show or an Oprah show or something. I don't know, Ellen DeGeneres.
Must be true then.
Must be true, yeah. But what it was so how do we define what shaped you in your life? So there's the 10 defining moments, the 7 critical choices, and the 5 pivotal people. So if I was to say, is there a oh, look at you going all like breathing heavily, like it's... So there are a lot of things in our life that defines us. So for me, as a youngster playing tennis, and they're not allowed to be playing tennis anymore because of my heritage and my background, long story, we won't go into it, defined who I was. That's why I never pick up a tennis racket ever again.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, it's very, very special. Then there are the pivotal people in my life, the people who have shaped me into what I do today. So I could have been hanging around with the drug lords. I could have been hanging around a bikie gang. I could have been hanging around some other people, but I decided to hang around people who my mother had probably guided me towards. And then there are the 5 pivotal people, and then there are the 7 critical choices. So the choices that I've made: should I study? Should I go on a vacation? Should I eat this food and drink this alcohol so I can get an addictive nature, and smoke this cigarette? So these are all the choices that I make. So what I want to ask you is, do you have a definite defining moment that really had shaped you into who you are?
But, okay, gosh, thanks for that.
Yes.
Great question.
I know it's hard.
You know, I make a living asking questions. It's interesting to be on the other
on the
end
other
of
side,
it.
eh?
Yes, definitely.
So what shaped you to who you are today? Because we met maybe 10, 12,
More, probably 15
years ago, right? And from there, something must have happened to you to go, I'm going to get out of this workplace. So whether it was toxic or it was...
Okay, yeah.
We won't mention the workplace, but it could have been toxic, it could have been lovely, or somebody had said, Flavia, you're better than this, you need to go and do this. So you might have had a pivotal person that's pushed you, or maybe the defining moment was, that's enough, I've had enough of this place. And then you just move and shift.
No, what the workplace that I was working at and the person that I was working with when I met you was an outstanding arrangement for 5-6 years, whatever that was, whatever that period of time was. The person changed. Behaviour that I to this day don't know what happened or why.
Interesting.
And it became completely untenable for me to continue working in that environment. And at the time, I was very lucky that an external consultant that was working for the company, if she sees this, she'll know who she is, and I won't say who she is, a remarkable woman. She was working, and I did confide in her and about my situation. And I knew I needed to make a decision to move on, but I didn't know what to do. At that stage, I was a coach and I was leading a coaching program. So I understood coaching and I understood I'm a facilitator, a trainer. And she just said, she gave me the confidence through her mentoring and through her advice and through just her encouragement that I could make it on my own. And, you know, I was married and I had the benefit of a husband who supported me, and financially we could afford for me to take what was a risk to walk away from employment, which I'd never done in my life. I had always worked and I'd always gone from, you know, one employer to another, opportunity to opportunity. And so it was that moment of actually saying, self-coaching and saying to myself, to be congruent, to be able to face people and say, you can achieve whatever you want to achieve in your life. You can have that dream. I have to do it myself. I have to walk the walk. I can't sit here being disrespected and bullied and mistreated and all of those other things. I've got to back myself. Otherwise, how do I ever look anyone in the eye as a coach and say, you've got this and I've got your back? And so I did. I just took a deep breath, resigned, and you know, I won't go into all the details, but the agreement with my husband at the time, my ex-husband, was that we would give it 6 months, and if I wasn't earning, you know, something, I would just look for work. And I recall him coming into my home office and saying, well, just giving you an update, you know, so far this business has cost us $28,000 because we had to buy a car and I needed, you know, all that. I had nothing at home. Back then, working from home was non-existent. You didn't work from home, you went to work. But within 6 months, I had an excellent contract with an excellent organisation. And I haven't really, I'd worked for them as their capability coach for about 3 years. And I haven't really looked back. I believe in manifesting, and I believe in valuing connections and putting out what you want back. All of my work has come from referrals, from people who know me, reaching out or referring me to someone.
It's interesting that the line of work that you're in, like that coaching world, is, like you were saying, our parents never had coaches. Well, your parents may have, but your parents certainly never had a coach. It was your work. You're an industrialist, you know, you were either mining or you were cutting or you were farming, you were doing something. So having a coach there wasn't really necessary. But as we've grown, I think everyone needs a coach. But my question is there are so many coaches out there nowadays. Like you have a look online and you just go, a coach, there's a life coach, there's a performance coach, there's a health coach, there's an eye coach, there's a voice coach. Everyone's a coach in something, which I think's good, but does it diminish the role of the true coaches, the ones that really know how to get the best performance out of others?
Yeah, so there would have been a bit of a red rag to a bull a few years ago to ask me that question, because I'm part of the International Coaching Federation, which is really the only international body for accrediting and recognising not just your credentials, but your experience and your knowledge. And it's all done through exams and through, you have to record yourself coaching, and it's quite rigorous. And I really did feel very passionately that you shouldn't be able to call yourself a coach unless you are at least credentialed, you have some qualification. But maybe I'm mellowing too with age, and you know what? There's enough room for everyone.
Yeah.
If someone is looking for a crystals and butterfly life coach who, well, that's okay. They're not looking for me. So I think there's room. What I have found in the coaching community with true coaches, and look, the people who are not true coaches will fall away eventually. They'll go off and do something else. But true coaches, we have a lot of respect for each other. I get work referred to me. If someone comes to me and is looking for a coach and they're a friend or a family member, I don't want to work with them. No. That's not appropriate.
No.
I will always refer them to a colleague or a peer, and vice versa. And I think that's the greatest compliment you can pay another coach, to refer someone you care about to them. And I feel like there's enough work for everybody.
I've always had this thought in the back of my head that that people such as yourself and myself, we like helping people. But does that mean that there are some people who just can't help themselves? They don't have the ability. They need a push. It's like in my line of work, to tell a person or to explain to a person that there is a technique to de-escalate a hostile situation. It's a technique. And then when I go through the technique, I go, why can't you even think of that? Like, why can't you think that there is an easy technique to say you and I are in conflict? What I might have to do is maybe understand it from your position, and then I can redirect what you're saying back to you. That sounds simple to me. And yet some people have zero way of understanding, because maybe the way that we're doing it when we say we want to help people is to just give them the permission to say, just do it. Like, you just do it. Are there people, this one's a good one for you, are there people who are uncoachable?
Okay, so if we go back to the first question, simply, they're not you. So they don't have your life experience. They don't know what you know. They don't approach things the way you do. So if they're coming to you to be coached on how do I de-escalate a problem, it's because they don't know. And it might be really simple to you, but remember, you've been doing this for a number of years. It's like I coach on leadership, and sometimes the aha moments people have, I just sit back in my chair and think, you can't honestly tell me you got to general manager or head of department, and you don't know that? Yes. But they don't know it. Yeah. Or they knew it once and they got so busy doing what they do on the tools of the trade that they work with that the people side of it fell away. So it's the people side of it that we're really here to support them with, aren't we?
Yes.
Really.
Yes.
Because if you think about it, every person that's in any position of leadership or power, they got there because they were really good at the job they do. They were good on the tools. They were good on drawing the data, analysing it, writing reports, whatever it is. They worked their way up the corporate pyramid. They got where they got. And when did they pause to learn about dealing with people in a more appropriate way? It comes naturally to some. It does not come naturally to most. And it's similar to your de-escalation example. I had de-escalation training when I worked in a bank as a bank officer. People coming in, people being angry. I know some of those. I probably don't know all of the techniques, but I know some of them. But if you've never worked in that space, if you've never had that training, how do you know?
But
how do you know?
No, well, okay, how do you know? How about this? How about I just don't antagonise you? Like if all of a sudden now you and I have got a disagreement about something, and I can hear your voice starting to escalate, getting into a louder tone, I must be able to realise that I've triggered you, and I'm antagonising you, maybe on purpose to get a reaction from you. And to de-escalate it is, I just need to stop doing that. Now, I know that sounds in its simplest form, and you're shaking your head going, no. And being Italian, you know that you have to one-up the next person. I'm making that up. Maybe it's a German thing. But I'm guessing maybe I'm just being arrogant about it. Maybe that's it. When we use the word de-escalate, I just want to say, don't argue with the person. I could just say, argument training. Not de-escalation training, just this is argument training. Oh, what do you mean by that? Don't argue.
Because I think people want to be heard. And when people want to be heard, they just get louder and louder. And in fact, we know that actually if you drop your voice and people have to stop to listen to you. But to just go back to your original, they're not you. They don't know what you know. They're doing what they think. I don't think anybody gets up every day and thinks, today I'm going to really annoy someone. I'm going to see if I can, provoke someone to hit me, beep at me, cut me off in traffic, whatever. But it happens. Yeah. And we don't know what the backstory is for them. But an example I can give you of something really simple, and it happened yesterday with a beautiful coaching client that I have who is, CFO, very accomplished woman. During our coaching session, she said, what I really want to work on is I want you to help me because I interrupt people all the time. I'm just really rude and I interrupt them. And it's something I'm aware of and I have to stop doing it. And as we discussed what's going on in that space, what she was actually talking about is when she is chairing a meeting, she has someone in her team who goes off on a tangent and starts talking about things completely unrelated to the point in case. And as in all meetings, they're time-bound and other people are rolling their eyes. And so she said, I just cut him off and say, okay, enough now, we're moving on. And so I said to her, well, there are some other ways, an approach would be, that's so interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Unfortunately, I'm going to need you to stop because we've got to get back. We've got to make a decision about this topic. We've only got 10 minutes on this subject. Interrupt him politely, give him some context, and then just say, if you like, you and I can take that offline after the meeting or, And she just said, oh, wow, so all I have to do is acknowledge what I'm doing. If I just acknowledge what I'm doing when I'm interrupting. And I sort of, well, wouldn't you say, excuse me, I'm sorry, I need to, wouldn't you think you would do that? But she never did that. She used to just say, stop now, Michael, we've had enough. We don't want to hear that anymore. Let's talk about. Right. So she said, no, I would just be really rude to him. And I knew I was really rude, but I didn't know how else to. And so this is an intelligent, accomplished, amazing, beautiful woman. No less of a great leader.
Because isn't that what we talk about? We talk about there's the IQ, so she's very intelligent, but she's probably lacking in the EQ, which is the self-awareness and the self-regulation.
Yeah, in that moment. In that example. Yeah. And so her action that she took away from the session is that over the next week, she's going to imagine herself in a similar position and think about what are the words she will use, how will she interrupt in a way that is more respectful, still gets the result, and she doesn't feel like she's being rude. And then we're going to role play that in her next session.
Yeah, good. That's good. So sometimes feeling it, like if you were speaking and I just interrupted you, and then it's like I was just midstream talking about something, then it would be that So when I interrupted you, how did that make you feel? And you go, what the hell were you doing? Maybe that's the sort of thing that you would go through. So the second question I had is that are there some people who are just uncoachable?
Not coachable. Yeah.
You can't help.
I have a lovely man in my life right now who is very resistant to being coached. When I try, he says, I know what you're doing, stop doing it.
Yes.
And he will give me a speech about being 62 and very set in his ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose coaching is a completely voluntary engagement. The first session I have with anyone is just about we need to get to know each other, and you have to decide whether I'm the coach for you. There has to be a sense of trust and rapport, and you're trying to build that in the first hour together, which is not always easy. But if you don't feel that sense of connection, you're not going to have a successful coaching engagement, because coaching, the person needs to be willing to be part of it and comfortable. And, coaching is about having that space of trust and non-judgment where they feel safe to talk about whatever is on their mind. And that some people, they're just not willing or ready to go there.
I have a very good friend of mine. When he called me up last week. No, in fact, I called him up, missed the call, he called me back. And he said to me, hey, G-Man, how you going? I said, oh, mate, not feeling the best. Oh, what's going on? Went through all the stuff. And then I could feel the coaching coming out. Like he's a registered counsellor, okay? And then I could start to feel the counselling coming out. Oh, mate, what are you feeling at the moment? Oh, I'm just feeling like I'm just a bit down in the dumps. I'm not getting the exercise that I need. And I don't know, I'm just like, what is it that you think you can do today that might get you out of this bind? And I said, are you counselling me? And he went, no, I'm just having a chat with you. I sometimes feel that there are people who are so good at their job that they now speak to their friends like they're coaching and counselling them. Do you feel sometimes that you get into that although you're a conversationalist and you like to talk to people, and I'm going to bring up the Italian thing again, and Italians like to talk and they like to interact a lot, do you think you might find yourself coaching a person when you just want to have a chat with a person? Because I can feel it. When I feel a person starting to coach me, I go, you're coaching me. I know, I just want you to have a beer with me or a whiskey.
Yeah, I suppose if we go back to that idea of congruence, that you try to... I always say very proudly that I'm the same person with my clients, with my friends, with my family, that if my mother walked in here now, she wouldn't be surprised at how I'm comporting myself or how I'm talking. But having said that, a professional relationship is just that. I mean, as a coach, you're not a counsellor, you're not a psychologist. There is a boundary of privacy that sometimes the client will let you into, but you don't seek to go there. I mean, most of my coaching is in the leadership executive space. So it's holistic by all means. If something's going on in their personal life or their home life and it's affecting work and we need to work through it, that's fine. But the client takes me there. I don't tend to ask anything very personal. Like I let them take me there, if that makes sense. In my personal life, yes, I'm the eldest of 9 cousins. So as I said to you, the firstborn in Australia. My mother is the eldest in our family. On Sunday, we celebrated her 85th birthday, and there were 35 of us there. They are my family. They are my close family. And I feel a real obligation, and not in a negative way, like I am, when my mother is not with us, everyone says it will fall to me. I'm the one who organises the family gatherings and keeps that together. So I do find myself involved with supporting, advising, being in the lives of my younger relatives. And I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of close friends. Partly that's being an extrovert, but partly I do genuinely care about people. And I've lived a life and I've had experiences. So if I can support someone, I will do it. I'm mindful to not go to that professional coaching space though, because coaching requires you to stay out of the space. And sometimes as a friend or a relative or a partner, you've got to be in the space with them. So you can't really coach them because you, as a coach, I'm not connected to the outcome of the outcome of the session is for the benefit of the coachee. I'm happy and proud when I get great feedback, but I'm not directly affected. But if I'm talking to my partner or my brother or a close friend, I'm in it. I'm in their space because I'm affected by...
Yeah, you're part of it.
So you can ask questions and be supportive and do all of those things that come naturally, but in a different way to how you do it when you're working professionally.
There's this wonderful term called, I want to talk to you about it and see if you can help me understand it a bit. It's called the unconscious bias. You've heard of that? Okay. Now, I've done that a lot with you here today, and I don't know if I've embarrassed you or if I've made an unconscious bias by using the terminology Italian heritage. So I've used that as because of family, because of Italians, the way that Italians like to use, look at me using my hands, well, European. But I've unconsciously made that bias that that's what Italians are like. They're family, they like to get together, they eat lots of pasta and they eat lots... I'm making that up too, I don't know if you eat pasta, probably do. You're not Australian pasta, I've heard. So now you get into the discussion and the conversation because that's how Italians are. Is that wrong? Because I've now made an unconscious bias about the Italian culture. Were you embarrassed by it, hurt by it, or taken like, well, that's not us. That's not who we are. But it's stereotypical of who Italians are.
No, I'm not offended or bothered by it.
But I think the more so the question is that the word unconscious bias, is that a bad thing?
Well, unconscious bias can be a bad thing if you allow it. So, for example, if you used that and you thought, well, she's Italian, she's from Italian heritage, therefore she's going to be feisty and she's going to be, which I was when I was younger.
There you go. See?
If you then use that unconscious bias to make assumptions about me that diminish what you think I'm capable of. So if you looked at me and said, well, she's Italian, therefore passionate, emotional, blah, 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 I would never offer her a role where she has to work alone from home because she wouldn't be able to do that. Then you're using that unconscious bias to draw a conclusion which, apart from being completely incorrect, is unfair to me. So if we flip it and connect it to the work we do, and specifically the work I do, one of the greatest gifts this job has given me is to take absolutely every person I meet at face value in that first session and not make any assumptions about who they are.
Or make judgment.
Now, that's a requirement when you're a coach, but let's face it, we're all human. And I consult for a couple of international companies. One is German, one is American. I have coached the commander of a US Air Force squadron. If we want to leap to imposter syndrome, the first session with that incredibly accomplished person, I went into that session thinking, what on earth value can I possibly give this person when they are so accomplished in their career? My job is to not allow myself to have that bias or that assumption that says this person will or won't be receptive to being coached, or this person doesn't need coaching, or that's not my call. So I went into it, left my bias behind, mindfully and purposefully, was really present, engaged with the most remarkable person. My only regret is that I will probably never meet that person in person because I would love to. We had a coaching engagement that lasted 9 months and I got as much from that engagement as that person did, you know. It was remarkable. So I think our unconscious bias is normal, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it, because we come to it. I know your heritage is German. My cousin's married to a German woman. I've been to Germany. I can make some assumptions about Germans too. But as long as I don't then decide, well, and then because of that, Gerald, I won't work with you.
Yeah.
Or I know you're going to be bossy or difficult, or because I'd be wrong.
Yes.
So
yeah, that's the if it affects you negatively, then it's obviously not a good thing. So how long do you think you can keep this up, being helpful to people? Because at some stage, what did I hear the analogy one day is that sometimes what we do is that we help people all the time. You know, we give them encouragement, we give them advice, we give them, you know, directions to head towards, we give them two choices and options. And the analogy that I heard was that what I want you to do is I want you to one day just look at the hospital bed, and that's you in the hospital bed. Now talk to you. What would you say to you lying in that hospital bed? And yet we don't do it for us. We like doing it for everyone else, because that's the sort of people that we are. I'd rather help another person out of their distress and their angst than work on me. So the question I have is that how long do you think you can keep this up before you get to the stage like my father is at 92, where he says, I don't care. I'm putting on his heavy Austrian accent. 92. I don't care for these people. And I go, but these people are the ones that I don't care for them. I want them to get out of my house. Is that a good accent, Rudy? And that's what he's like now. Yet 30 years ago, 20 years, even 10 years ago, it was I welcomed them all in. So do you have a threshold forever?
I think we all must have a threshold. I don't know for sure. I do work on myself. The gift of life not going the way I thought it was going to go. The gift of being literally having the world pulled out from under me 5 years ago. And anyone who watches this and knows me and knows the story, if there was a person who was, life just threw me right off course. And if I didn't have the tools and the skills and the family and the friends that just held me up and held me together to put myself back together and move forward, I don't know what would have happened to me. I possibly would be one of the escalating number of women in their late 50s, early 60s who are homeless because they don't have everything you need to be able to move forward. I didn't work for a number of years, and then COVID hit. It was at I had retired, so I had wound down my coaching business. Because I was married anyway, I put this life back together again. I did it with, not alone, like I said, amazing friends, mentors, family. I came back to what I love, and this isn't work for me. I absolutely love it. I can honestly say that I only work 2 days a week, and I do extra facilitation and all of that. It energizes me. I feel good at the end of the day. I don't feel drained or used So having retired at 56 and thinking I was done and then coming back to it, that you talked about pivotal moments. That was an absolute defining moment. And I'm lucky that I had the fortitude and the personality that could go, actually, no, this is not the end. And I have a qualification and I have skills that I can use. And Catalyst Change Coaching was built.
I love that.
Because there needs to be a catalyst for change to occur. That's a scientific fact. And in our lives, this is a nice little bringing it all together, but in our lives there are catalysts that, whether it's a quote, a person, an experience, a life event or whatever, that brings about a change. And it's important to remember you have a choice. You always, doing nothing is still a choice. So then what you choose, you follow through. That's all I've done. Nothing special, nothing too amazing. What I do now, I will do until I feel like physically, mentally, I can't do it anymore. Because it's part of me staying engaged. And I think for as long as someone wants to work with me, I will work with them. So I haven't really got an age or a date or a time in mind. The day will come when I don't work anymore, but I work for myself. Yeah. So earlier this year, I took 3 months off. Actually, while I was overseas, I did continue to see some clients because it's all via Zoom and it's just, it's easy. But I think it's, there is that saying about find something you love and don't work a day in your life.
Yeah, correct.
And coaching has really been that for me.
I had the opportunity to see my future.
Okay.
Right?
Tell me about that.
Yeah, I love that. Tell me about that. That's very good. I like that. I got the opportunity to see my future, and it was a smack in the face. So I went down and I did a podcast with my father, Rudy. Cheers, Rudy. And I was talking to him and I was saying, if you had your life over again, would you do anything different? And he looked at me, and he's 30 years older than me. I'm 62, so he's 92. And he said, look at me. So I'm going to give him his best accent. He goes, look at me. I'm 92. This is your life. I go, what do you mean this is my life? This is what you will be doing. You will get up in the morning. You will go to the bathroom. You will go to the kitchen, make yourself a coffee, and you'll make your way out to the shed or the room or wherever it is, and you will have breakfast out there. And then you will sit on the couch, and then you will watch TV or your YouTube channels or your favorite things on social media. And then you reverse it at night. You get out of there, you have your dinner, then you go to the toilet, then you go to the bathroom, and then you end up in bed. Now repeat that until you die. And I went, oh my God. He said, this is your life. Do you want this life? And he said it to me not like, do you want this life? But he was saying it to me in a way that says, I'm living proof that if I was your age now, I don't want to do that. So even though circumstances have happened to me in the last 6 months, I've reflected back on that and I've gone, I don't want that. And so when you start thinking about, and you said you don't look at the future, like you don't want to know what's in the future, but when I got to see my future, which is the closest person to me, I think at some stage you just go, I could do this, because some people will be happy just in their garden, digging up veggies, cooking up the veggies and saying to their wife or their cousins or their husbands or whoever they have, their partners and kids, and going, well, today we got a great little feed of carrots. And then they repeat that the next day, and today we got pumpkins, and they will be happy in that. But you're not going to look in the future because you don't want to know what there could be.
Well, there's no point, because what I know for absolute certainty, in the words of John Lennon, is that life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans.
Yes.
Like I said earlier, there were moments in my life I could have clearly told you what my future looked like, based on a whole bunch of assumptions, none of which eventuated. So I can't look at an aging father, because my father died when he was 51. So
that's sad.
I can only look at my mother, who has been widowed longer than she was with my father.
Wow.
She was 46. She's now 85. She loves fiercely. She lives for her 3 children and her 3 amazing grandchildren, and her sisters, her extended family. As I said, we were all celebrating her last Sunday. She's got a lot of wonderful friends. She's got her townhouse. She's got her garden. She does a little bit of sewing here and there. She cooks constantly for all of us. She's in Tasmania right now with my brother on holidays. She is loved and celebrated and has made a good life for herself. If I live my life that well, and I'm as well and as loved and happy as she is when I'm 85, life well lived.
So I have one more thing, and we've been doing this for an hour.
Have we?
Oh my God,
Sorry,
how quickly
everyone.
has that gone? No. So I have one more thing I want to put to you. I have 1 year to live. Okay? But I think I have about 30 years to exist. Now, do you notice what the difference was when I said I had 1 year to live? There was a lot of things going through your head, which was you're taking a breath and you're now trying to work and think in your head, holy crap, what am I going to say, right? But I've made this promise to myself. I have 1 year to live. And in that next year, once my bus is finished, once that 1 year starts, once I get the keys to the bus and everything's been converted, I'm going to live for 1 year. And everything that was before me is going to be gone. But I'm going to give everything, because isn't there that old saying, if you had 1 more year to live, what would you do? Isn't that the saying? Mm-hmm. If you only had 1 year to live, what would you do? I'd travel here. I'd make peace with my friends. I'd ensure that everything's in order. Well, I'm going to do that for 1 year. And then after that, if I make it past the year, if I haven't driven off the side of a cliff or something, or done something stupid on my motorbike, which I always seem to do, then for the rest of that is a bonus. But I've made 1 year that I'm going to just go out there and just live. Okay. How does that sound to you?
Well, it sounds like I wish I had something I could hit you with for that first statement, making me feel that feeling, because that's a hard feeling to feel. And we haven't seen each other in 15 years. That's my level of being an empath, right? I'm just connected with you in the last 2 hours.
But isn't it amazing that when I said that to myself, like,
you went pale.
I went pale. I've said it to myself. I looked in the mirror one day, and first off I did that, and then I said, "You've only got a year, mate.
You might have to open that whiskey."
You might have to, yeah. You've only got a year. And what it did for me is it made me realise that there are so many people and friends of mine who are not in a position that I'm in, and yet I want to be able to get past that. And then when my father added that whole, look at my life, this is your life, it made me start to think, 100 years from now, no one's going to know this podcast, no one's going to know about this discussion that we've had. It'll be held in the ether. It might be dusted off somewhere by your great-great-great-great-great-grand-nieces and my great-great-great-great-grand-nieces, and they go, oh, look at that. That's an interesting conversation through AI, but it won't matter. Won't matter. So I do get what you're saying about not being worried about what's happening in the future, but if I give myself a plan, it doesn't mean I'll have happiness, but what it will mean is that I now have 1 year that I'm going to commit to myself and anyone else that wants to come on the journey with me. And then after that, I can just exist.
Well, if that's your plan and that's your choice,
that's it.
I hope that it all evolves for you exactly the way you hope for it to.
Now, me being a coach as well, I don't hope. I'm confident.
I'm
making it happen, because I think there are, hope is 50%. I just want to be confident in that. And that's, we need that whiskey, don't we?
We really do.
Did you like my little whiskey cabinet up the top
I
there?
did. It was very
impressive.
For someone who's such an essentialist. Essentialism.
Well, that is going to be an essential part of my life.
It is.
That and a puppy dog.
Oh, okay.
It's something like that.
Awesome. It sounds like a great plan.
I love talking to 15 years.
I know.
15. This is how crazy it is, isn't it? We've gone past 15 years, and I see your name come up on LinkedIn, and I go, what's Flavia up to? The cute girl that I read there on Urban Dictionary who can dance.
God, cute. I don't think I've ever been called cute.
Well, that's part of
my grade 1 report card, which I still have, and I was 4 when I started school and had not been sent to kindergarten, fluent in 2 languages, and my grade 1 kindergarten from St. Joseph's Convent, Baden, which is not far from us,
up the road,
says Flavia is a forthright and outspoken little lady.
Ooh.
I think that we'll just leave it there.
I think
nothing much has changed.
I think we will leave it there. Now, if anyone wants to contact you, Catalyst of Change, they can just jump onto LinkedIn.
Yes.
And they can see your little profile there. And if they say, yes, I want Flavia to have a chat with me,
I'm the only Flavia Formica,
It's
even
great.
on Facebook. Really.
And I'm the only Gerald Porschman. How good is that?
So we're unique.
We are unique.
Yes.
That's what we are. And for everyone else, if you have any questions or any thoughts that you want to ask Flavia, put it in the comments below and you can reach out to her and we can have an ongoing discussion. I think we could do this forever. We could do this forever.
Can I thank you for having me?
You can thank
very
me.
much.
It's been a bit of fun, hasn't it?
Yes, it's been lovely.
Different. You didn't expect this, did you?
No, it's funny. People have been saying to me for ages, you should do a podcast.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? Does
Really?
the world need another podcast?
Yeah, exactly.
And then it was great to hear from you. And
and then
fun
let's
to
just
do.
sit down and we're going to drink whiskey.
Just
now.
remember that filter when you're doing the filtering, please. When you're doing the editing, be kind.
Be kind. That sounds like an Ellen DeGeneres thing. Be kind. All right, everyone. Thanks very much. We'll
Thanks.
talk to you again. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.